What's up, Trek Nation, and welcome back to Trek by Numbers on After the Snap. It's me, Tasha Pierce, and today we are starting a brand new set of episodes for Trek by Numbers. This one is Season 5's Episode 8, and we are beginning this whole thing with TNG. Of course, per usual with my Trek by Number selections, it seems like I always get the second part of a two-part episode when I have a multi-part episode selected, and this is no different. This one is Unification 2. In it, Captain Picard has discovered that Mr. Spock has traveled to Romulus in an attempt to reunite the Romulans and the Vulcans. Following him, Picard and Data suspect that the venerable Vulcan has walked into a trap. This one has an original air date of November 11th, 1991, directed by Cliff Bow, written by Michael Piller. Let's go. This one picks up right where the last one left off, with this continuing journey with Captain Picard and Data. They're on this mission to uncover the truth behind Ambassador Spock's strange disappearance. So in Unification 2, the secretive Romulan plot starts to evolve, and it's around their attempt to take advantage of Ambassador Spock's mission for reunification between Vulcans and Romulans. The Romulans, who are very well known for their secrecy and manipulation, want to use Spock's influence to gain control over Vulcan. And really, Picard and Data's mission is twofold. They are going to find out what's really going on with Ambassador Spock, and they also have to deliver the bad news that Sarek has passed away. So we start off with Captain Picard and Data still in their Romulan disguises, and they've discovered that Spock again has been working this undercover mission to bring the Romulans and the Vulcans closer together. Spock believes that reunification is possible, and he's been trying to make it happen. We remember back in Redemption, I believe it was, Picard had shared a mind meld with Sarek. Well, in this episode, we see Picard and Spock share a mind meld, and this is where Spock learned how much his dad loved him and how much he was proud of him. And that moved Spock. But of course, you know, he has to keep up the Vulcan exterior. I think that if he were in that situation and he learned of his father's death and he was able to find out exactly how his father felt about him, he would have shown his humanity. But instead, he put up the Vulcan exterior. Now, there had been thoughts that the Romulans were doing some underhanded-ish, so things did end up getting complicated on Spock's mission when he realized that his friend of 80 years, Pardek, betrayed him to the Romulans, revealing that it was a ruse to invade Vulcan. We also learned that one of the masterminds behind this big plan is Sela. We see her again for I think the last time. I don't think we see her anymore. If I'm wrong, y'all put it in the comments. Well, meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, the crew is dealing with the fallout from Picard and Data's absence. The Romulans tried to distract the Enterprise with a fake distress call, but they failed to stop them from intercepting an invasion fleet that had been sent out. I think it was something like 6,000 Romulans. Do not quote me on that. But this invasion fleet was headed to Vulcan with 6,000 Romulans. And I'm trying to figure out how you take over a whole freaking planet with 6,000 people. But it could happen, I suppose. It could happen. It did in the Bible, right? Because once Spock and Picard and Data find out that Pardek has kind of betrayed the whole little clique, they're being held hostage in the most unlikeliest place ever. They have access to a computer. Put it like this. The Romulans, for some people who are very manipulative and cunning, they are not very smart. They come up with these long, convoluted plans. We're going to manipulate the reunification movement. We're going to install a puppet leader on Vulcan. We're going to do all of these things. But we're going to put the hostages, the very smart hostages, where they can create a disruption to our plans. And you know what? I love these kinds of episodes. It adds an extra layer of intrigue to the episode because you've got Data, Picard, and Spock racing against time to expose and thwart this covert agenda by the Romulans. And it's also a classic example of the political machinations that we often see in Star Trek. It adds a very thrilling element to this storyline. And I think that that's why this episode works, and it is why it is looked at so fondly by fans. Not only that, we got to close the circle with Spock and Sarek. We got a little bit of closure there. We got some very good character moments from Data and Spock together because they are comparing their likenesses and their differences. Data is a very logical being, but he longs to feel human emotion. Spock is a very uh, emotional being, and he longs to rid himself of those emotions so that he can live solely by logic. Very, very, very well done in comparing these two characters and how they fill in for one another. Fan, this is also like backstory for the Star Trek 2009 movie, Star Trek Picard series. These are important backstories for things that occur in those parts of the franchise. And we got to close it all out with Discovery Reunification, that episode. And I forgot which one, and I ain't about to look it up. Maybe I'll put it here. But that episode showed that Vulcan and the Romulans were finally, after centuries of trying, were able to finally reunify. And it would have made Spock so proud, but we got to see it from Michael Burnham's perspective. And because she is Spock's sister, she could stand in and feel that pride, that knowing that her brother had worked his entire life to make this thing happen. And even if he wasn't there to see it, she was. This was also an episode that solidified the relevance of TNG in the canon of TOS. It put a very important character, Spock, in the mix with Picard and Data. It lended a bit of credibility to the series because there were some people who still were kind of oscillating between whether they would like or watch the series or not. Spock's presence in this episode did an awful lot to engage the fandom and make them all come back into the fold. There's so much to love about this episode. There's just not a lot of downside to Unification's Part 1 or Part 2. But since we're only talking about Part 2, and this is going to be like a half review because it's so much better when you watch those episodes together, of course I'm giving this one an A rating. In fact, I'd probably give it an A+. This is an A+ rating from Trek by Numbers, but who cares what I think? I'd like to hear what you think. Tell me down in the comments below, and while you're there, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Turn those notifications on so you will not miss Engage Live. That is our live stream that we do on Sundays where we talk about all things Trek. Right now, we're digging very deeply into Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, and it's chugging right along, so join us for that on Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. If you are liking what I'm doing and would like to financially support the show, there are a number of ways to do that. You can hit that join button right down there, right underneath this video, or you can go to patreon.com/Tasha Pierce, pick a tier, any tier. I'll appreciate your support, just like these fine folks. And with all that being said, I've got nothing else. I will see you in the next one, which coincidentally will be Things Past from Deep Space Nine. In it, after losing consciousness in the runabout, Sisko, Odo, Dax, and Garrick awake in the past on Terek Nor, where they are to be executed for an attempt on Gul Dukat's life. Join me here for that one. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It has been a blast. I will see you in the next one. Live long and prosper. Peace.